Okay, welcome back everyone. I know we've already finished our practice guide. We finished this on the Wednesday before winter break. Today is just kind of a quick run through. I know tomorrow's our semester test. We have book check on Wednesday this week, so if you haven't found your textbook yet, find it today, find it tomorrow. We'll do book check on Wednesday unless you've already talked to me ahead of time about that. Obviously, the week before winter break, the Thursday, Friday, we did 5 problems, and then the week of winter break, we did another 6 problems. So we've finished up this entire practice guide, leading up to winter break, and then that way today was just kind of a bonus day to review, to go over anything specifically, maybe how to use a calculator if you need to know how to type something in, or what the formulas are, and that's really what today is, to go over those couple select formula that you have to actually have memorized, because I don't have them on the board anywhere, so I'll kind of remind you of that. Practice guide is due before you walk out the door today, so you will turn this in. If you need to take a photo of it, take a picture or something, I'll let you do that at the end of class, and then we'll turn these in right before you leave today. Got it? Okay. If you haven't noticed, I left all this stuff in the Google Classroom. I said I was going to delete them last Wednesday. I left them there. I'm going to go one quick check through that, probably tonight or tomorrow, because I just want to make sure I didn't miss anyone's work that they turned in, and I got everything submitted. So I don't want to delete it because it would go away and I wouldn't know what you submitted to me. So, I'm going to do one quick check through that I didn't miss something that you've submitted to me or redid something. So it's going to take a little bit of time, but I'm going to go through that today or tomorrow, so I don't want to miss anything. So, question?
Over break, I was studying, but there wasn't the last part 5.
Okay, I'll make sure. Maybe I just didn't hit submit and I just didn't go through. So that's a good check. Good check. I thought I had it. But I thought I did that last Wednesday before I left, but maybe I just hit to click and publish. So I'll make sure of that. And then today's video, I want to try to post this as early as possible today. So probably right after school, I'll probably try to post this live. So shouldn't be too bad. We'll see. I have basketball until about 5 tonight. So, all right. Yeah, good to know. So I'll put that up there. Yeah. So let's walk through this here just so you can see it. Okay. So obviously, there's 11 questions on here, so you can kind of see it. One, you have to calculate the hours. Make sure that you set up 3 columns: normal hours, overtime, and then the bonus Sunday holiday column. Know how the prices go. I will leave the hint on there for semester test. Normal hours, you just get normal pay. If you work any overtime, that's pay and a half. So it's pay plus half extra. In this case, this person was making $15-16 or something like that. It was pretty crazy. And then double time, you have to double the pay. So that's on holidays and stuff. So this person made quite a bit of money. Keith here in this case. Number 2, calculate what your commission is. The certain percent. Change that to a decimal on this one. Remember, you have to move the decimal over 2 spots, or what Brandon said that day when we did this, divide by 100. Figure out what that decimal is. Then you multiply it on the commission to know you're making a lot of money on this sale. And then you're going to add the sales earned, because you only have to work, get maybe paid minimum wages. So 3, you have to figure out the gross pay, which is what they provide you, and then you have to deduct all those things. I would say figure out all the deductions: federal tax, state tax, Social Security, Medicare, and health insurance. Add those all up so I can see what that total is, and then subtract it off the gross pay to figure out what your net pay is. I do want to see both those numbers so you can see that. Okay. 4, this is one where you have to just do the down payment only. You don't have to do what your monthly payments are or anything like that. So 20%, you have to take it, divide by 100, so it's 0.2. You just move the decimal over 2 spots. That's the easiest way to do it. You multiply it on the 125,000 to get 25,000, and that's your down payment. Then the mortgage is what you take the down payment off. So you subtract the down payment off to figure out what you're actually going to take the loan on, which is called a mortgage. So you're going to take a loan out for significantly less than 125,000. So it's always good to have down payment. Start saving now. Every paycheck, put 30, 40, $50. If you make more than that, take out 100. Just forget about it. Put it in a savings account where you forget about it. Start it now. So by the time you're in the 20s, you have a pretty good savings account built. Especially if you're starting to work now, full time or part time, since you guys are students still. So do that. It's a good habit to get into. Now this is one that we have to do the formula on. So the total interest paid and the mortgage. So we have an interest. We're going for 30 years, so you have to pay attention to the directions. Here's the formula you need to have on this one. The amount is equal to P1 plus R divided by N, all to the NT. Now again, what we talked about, this is the formula you have to have memorized. This is for compound interest for mortgages on homes. The A is the total amount you're going to pay in the long run. This is your total amount paid. So over, the life of that 30-year loan, you're paying a lot of money. I think we've calculated this thing was going to be like $2 million for some stupid number because 12% interest is too high. Then P is the principal. That's the amount you're borrowing. It's the borrowing amount. That's what your loan is. So when you, like earlier when we were talking about, doing a down payment, you had some money in savings, you paid off a little bit as your first payment to your home. Whatever's left is called the mortgage. That's what you're borrowing. That's the principal amount.
So you pretty much don't really have to, you kind of have to remember it, but you don't, because the bottom number is the 12.
Yeah, exactly.
12, and then 30, and then just the percent.
Yep. So R is going to be your interest rate, and this has to be in a decimal form, so it has to be in decimals. So, maybe divide by 100 or just move the decimal over 2 spots. So for yours, it's 0.12 for the decimal. The N, just like you're hearing Graf say there, he was talking about that the N is always a 12. It's how many months are in a year. So that's why it's always 12. So it's 12 months of a year.
So all you have to do is pretty much just remember 3 of them.
Yep. Yeah. Three numbers you have to plug in. So N is 12, and then T is time, and that has to be in years. So this is years or time. Okay. So there you go. So the N will always be a 12 for you guys, since that's how it works for student loans. That's how it works for credit cards. That's how it works for medical loans, something like that. If you have to take out a loan for medical purposes. So, all right. It's a pretty easy numbers. That formula you have to have memorized. You have to know how to plug it in. Do the numbers, divide the R and N first. So the 0.12 divide by that 12 first, and then put it to the power once you do that. So you have to do this part first, right? Doing this stuff first. Figure out what that crazy number is, and then take it times the P. And that'll tell you what your total is. Then if you want to know what the interest you paid, you have to take whatever number you're getting, the A amount, the total. You have to subtract the mortgage off, and that tells you what the extra money you're paying. I think on this loan you were paying like an extra $2 million. So it was something really close to that. It was some stupid, crazy number. Questions? Perfect. Okay. 6. This formula is very close to the last one. This is again another formula you have to have memorized. Here it is. It's the interest you're gaining is P times R times T. This is another formula I have to memorize. It's the only other one you have to have. I is the total interest you're paying.
So just figuring out what the differences are.
Yeah. So it's the extra cash you're paying for the loan for this vehicle. Because it's not a compound interest. Car loan is a simple interest loan, so it's a lot easier to calculate. P is the principal that you're borrowing, so that's the amount that you're gonna borrow. Typically, you want to make a down payment on your car again, so it makes the payments a lot less. Now, it won't make a significant difference like a down payment on a home would, because you're not going out as many years, but it still does make a difference. You'll still save a lot of money by making a pretty big down payment. The R is the interest rate. And this has to be in decimals. So you have to change that, move the decimal over 2 spots or divide by 100. But you got to make sure you put that interest rate in decimals. So yours is the 4.5, so you have to move it over 2 spots. So 0.045. And then time is time is in years.
So how do you find the monthly payment with your family?
So once you got your total, right? So you took your principal, the $23,000 car.
Yeah.
You took it times the 0.045. You took it times 6. That number you have to add to the car. So you have to add that to the $23,000 car to figure out what your total that you're paying for this car over 6 years. And you'll divide that by 12 and divide by 6. Because you have to divide by how many years you're taking the loan out for and how many months are in a year. And that'll tell you your monthly payments. It's going to be the 400s. I can just kind of tell you that. Just from experience. What do we end up getting on this one?
409.
409. I can just tell you because I've taken a loan that was almost exactly that number for a car once. That's how stupid that is, that I can tell because of personal experience. I was really close to the loan I took out in the BMW when I first bought it. I was slightly higher and a slightly lower interest rate, but it balanced out to be about $400. Okay, questions? Okay. All right, those are the two formulas. Those are the ones I'm kind of worried about because they're not going to be anywhere. What you're seeing in this room is what you get. You get nothing. There's going to be nothing on the board, nothing. So make sure you know it. Okay? All right, next problem. Remember, figure out what the total is. Pay super close attention to, are you at a high risk, average, or low risk? So to know which part of the scale you're on when you're going through your story problem. Lindsay here is in high risk, so you have to use the high risk column, the rows there. Go find out what her coverage is. The first one is, personal injury, and then property damage is that second number. Add those two numbers together, then take it times the factor, the policy or policy factor number. So that tells you, since it's business, it's a little bit lower. Boys can have a seriously high factor number. This is the price you'd pay per 6 months, but I don't care to find per month. Okay, 8, calculate cost of parts. Apologies. And then once you have the parts, you have to do the taxes, the 7% taxes. Add the taxes in, or just put a 1 in front of the 0.07. That'll add them in for you. Then figure out the labor. Read the instructions up above to know how much it costs per labor, and then figure out the total you're paying. I think this ended up being what, $200 and some dollars? What did this one end up being?
340.0243.
Well, for the parts, for the labor.
Total.
Total, well, 340.
340. Okay. Yeah. Okay. This is the race format question. I would expect a map, something that you've seen before, something we did in class. So expect a picture from like maybe the textbook or something for the maps we used. There's 2 maps that were in the textbook. I'll ask you a simple question, on the map, what's the best route, or something on there, what park is the closest one to you, or some stupid question. And then you have to tell me, in race format, the answer. Restate what the question is. So maybe the question on yours is like, what route should you take? The route I should take to go from Benson to Coalfield is, and answer it. Then after that sentence is over and you put your period, then start going into, citing and explaining and clarifying and expanding. Try to go as detailed as possible. Maybe, you're going to take route 117, highway 117 up to Dover and then up, to Coalfield because of the miles or less. Or maybe you're going to make up some story where, the miles between, Mount State Park to Coalfield. You made up that number and you said, okay, that's an interstate, you're traveling 70 miles an hour, and you did some other crazy math saying that is a better route. You just have to back up your answer with something that makes sense, that you have details that prove it. So it'll be an open-ended question, but you have to put in as much detail as possible for your race format. It has to be in proper sentence format. I'll give you plenty of space to write. You just have 3, 4, 5 sentences. If you want to go further, cool. Just how I always explain it, if somebody else were to come in here that has no math background and they were to read your story problem, could they get enough detail from your story problem to justify what you answered? Or to leave them hanging like, I don't know how they did this. That's how I always look at a race format. Did you put enough detail to explain what you're doing? Okay. 10, Uber, expect some type of Uber X, Uber Black, something like that. Calculate what your total is. Uber Black, this example, you had to add in the cost per person. On an Uber X, you wouldn't. The cost per person doesn't matter. You could have 4 people in the car as long as they have seatbelts for every single one of them. So keep that in mind. And then this was our last problem, number 11. We had to calculate the total number. So it'll be some type of meter reading. Where you have to read off what the meters are saying and then do your cost. I'm not going to put 2 meters where you compare them. It'll be 1 meter. Read it. Tell me what the cost is per unit. That number will be astronomically high because of the meter itself. Like you're not comparing it to another one. So it'll be some crazy large number. Just go with it. Don't think you did it wrong. So, all right. questions on any of these particular 11 questions? Maybe something you want me to go back to go over, another example, something that you're like, I don't know how to do this problem, or you just need to see how to calculate something again. So I'll go through anything, please. Number 9. Okay, let's go back to number 9. Okay, so on Benson to Coalfield, so off to the side before I start writing my sentence format, right, because we have to write out in sentences, I would try to figure out what route I should take. We're going from Benson to Coalfield, so I'm going to circle up here if you're kind of looking. So Benson's over here, and I want to go to Coalfield, which is up here, okay? That's where I want to get to. So I have like 3, there's more, but I could take 3 different routes to get there, right? I could go... One of the routes I could go up straight north, and how I know that's north, it's over here, they have a compass, and then go over across the interstate and then up. I could take that's one route. The only problem with that route is I don't know the distance between State Park and Coalfield on the interstate. So I'd probably avoid that one because I just don't know the mileage. Okay, there's a way to calculate it, but I'm not going to do that. That'd be overkill. The next one. I could take this route going kind of northwest-ish, and then getting to Dover and then going north. That's probably the route I would take just because of the distances that are involved. I'll go through that here in a second. Or the third route I could take is go straight across over to Parkton and then go straight north up to Coalfield. So I have a couple different routes. I'm going to avoid the interstate. I don't have the distance there. They didn't have any numbers printed for me on that one. And now looking at the other numbers, so the part in green, and again, I'd be doing this off to the side. So from Benson up to Dover, that was what, 9 miles? That's that little red 9. Going north, that's the green Highway 117. Then when I get to Dover, it's 4 miles north to Coalfield. It's 2 and 2. So that's what, 13 miles total? That's a pretty straight shot. And that's probably the reason. That would be another explanation.
Another one is 7722.
Yeah. So if you're going to take the blue route over to Parkton, yeah, you're absolutely right. 772 and 2, which is 774. That's 14 plus 4. That's 18 miles. Now the only reason why I might take that one is maybe Highway 151 is faster and Highway 20 is faster. Maybe I can go faster on those highways for some reason instead of 117, or maybe there's construction on 117. I don't know. Google or Apple will usually kind of picks. They kind of know what's going on. They follow traffic and phones, so they can kind of tell which one's faster. So yeah, I'm probably going to go with this route. I'll in my explanation, I'd probably go this route. So my first sentence would be, the route I would take to travel from Benson to Coalfield is northwest on Highway 117 to Dover and directly north on Highway 20 to Coalfield. That would be my answer, right? Then after that first sentence, I put my period. Then I would go into explaining. The route to go from Benson to Dover is 9 miles on Highway 117. Once I reach Dover, I turn right onto Highway 20, traveling 4 miles directly north to Coalfield. The other routes that I could potentially have taken were, and I would go into explaining. I could have went over to Parkton 7 miles and directly west on 151, then taking a right on Highway 20, traveling, what is that? 7 plus 4 plus 4, is that 15 miles directly north? Or no, is that about 11 miles directly north on Highway 20 from Parkton up to Coalfield? And that's too many miles. And that's something I would explain in my directions. And why I wouldn't take up the interstate. I don't know the distance that I'm traveling. So that would be something else I would explain. I'm not going to go north on Highway 8 and taking a left onto Interstate 46 because I do not know the distance from Mount State Park to Coalfield on the interstate. It wasn't printed. It might be the faster route, but I don't know the distance I'm traveling. It could be crazy in terms of distance. Or maybe they're doing construction. Maybe it's not finished yet. That type of thing. Does that help you out? Okay, just explain it in words the best you can. Okay, good. Anyone else that wants to see or know how to do a problem specifically? Okay. Your semester test is tomorrow. This practice guide is due before you walk out of here, so maybe you need to go grab your cell phone, take some pictures of it so you can study tonight. You can do that. I'll try to post the videos as soon as I can. Maybe I'll just have to publish on the one, so I'll check that out before I leave today. Book check is on Wednesday unless you've already talked to me and I already got graphs, so everyone else make sure you have your textbook. So, but yeah, you can put it in the basket. You can leave it on your desk. I'll grab it. But it's due before you walk out. We have another 20 minutes here, so you can kind of relax.
So do you want us to find both, like for number 5, so like the 2,500,000 and 2,000,000 whatever?
Yeah, so you have to figure out the total amount that you paid, and then you have to also subtract the mortgage off to figure out what your interest that you paid at loan.
So like you would subtract the 7,000.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's, you have to find both. Yeah, because I need to know like what's the extra money you're paying, and then what's the total you paid. There we go.